subscribe. Tariq Radio. Like and subscribe.
Some of you have already guessed, so this won't surprise you at all. But I have the same cancer that Joe Biden has. So I also have prostate cancer that has also spread to my bones. But I've had it longer than he's had it. Well, longer than he's admitted having it. So my life expectancy is maybe the summer. I expect to be checking out from this domain sometime this summer. Now,
all right, what's going on, man? We're in here, ladies and gentlemen, and a round of applause to you. We are in the building doing that late night tap in with Tariq, and I am Tariq Nasheed. I am your gracious host and conductor for the empowerment train on this broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to have you guys tuning in. What I do ask is that everybody give me a nice retweet. If y'all can give me a nice retweet, that would be absolutely phenomenal, ladies and gentlemen. A retweet would just make my day. And before we do that, let me shout out a couple of the regulars in here because we're going to get right up on the calls. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get right up on the calls. We got Rashonda, we got Sir Mike, the Black Receipt, we got Michi God, Highland, we got Ty Powell, the Black Republican, Miss Skyline, we got No Cap, MRK, FBA Chuck, Percy Earl, Monsoon, Obsidian, and so many more. Cha-Cha, I see you. Brother McCall in the building, Love I Am, Grinds TV, and the Tethernator in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to have y'all in. A lot of stuff we're going to hit on, and we're going to get the calls early, but I always say that and end up going in for like 30 minutes. But listen, boy, we got to give it up to the ancestors. Our foundational Black American ancestors are not playing out here, ladies and gentlemen. Our ancestors are awakened, they are energized, they feel our energy, they feel our honor and respect for them, and they're being reciprocal with doing their spiritual duties. It's a lot of things going on that we got to give up to the ancestors, the Majara spirit, the whole shebang. Right now, family, there is a ancestral reckoning. You understand? There's a metaphysical backlash against injustice. And we're seeing a lot of retributive and corrective energy that's happening out here. We saw recently this week with the Nottoway plantation down there in Louisiana catching on fire. Family, this week we found out there in North Carolina, they have a Confederate museum that pays homage to the Confederacy. They had a bunch of Confederate trinkets in there, so they pay homage to the Confederacy. A damn storm happened. A tree fell down on the museum and destroyed the whole thing. Family, the ancestors are talking. Family, y'all remember the other day, I was just talking about the ancestral energy and the trees. I was talking about that the other day. Spending time down in Louisiana, all of those trees down there. I broke that down, how the trees retain a lot of ancestral energy and memories, especially in places where there were atrocities against us. You'll see that in the Carolinas, in a lot of places, especially in Louisiana. Those trees hold those memories and energy. I don't think it's a coincidence at all that a damn tree fell down on a Confederate building and destroyed that shit. I don't think that's a coincidence at all. Family, we're gonna get a little metaphysical. We're gonna get a little deep. But just understand trees. Let's talk about just hoodoo. This goes into our hoodoo Majara spirit because that's what is our energy and our spiritual practices were about. It was about connecting with nature, respecting nature, and becoming one with nature, transferring our energies to nature. And when we deal with trees that they're living witnesses to atrocities. Trees are the oldest living things on earth. Like a single tree can live for hundreds, thousands of years, hundreds or even thousands of years, standing in the same spot while human history just unfolds around it. So you see trees around these slave plantations, cotton fields, cabins. Man, you know what these trees witness? That's why there's a term called witness trees. There's a term. People relish witness trees, trees that were around places of significant historic meaning. But just imagine these trees in North Carolina, the trees in Louisiana. What did these trees witness? They witness brutalization. They witness us getting beaten on these trees. They would tie us to these trees and beat us. They've witnessed us praying. We would go by the trees to pray. Those trees witness lynchings. So a lot of that energy goes into those trees, and the trees absorb those energies. You see, trees are always looked at as spirit vessels, especially in hoodoo culture. They're not just inanimate objects, they're spiritual beings. Like I said the other day, if you give certain plants positive energy, they will react positively. If you give them certain energy that's negative, many of them will wither and die off or turn different colors. Plants, trees, all of those things, they feel and vibe off energy. They are living entities. So atrocities are absorbed by these trees. Just wanted to make that clear. So when we see something, what's up, Professor Allen, our good sister Wani? Good to see y'all in here. So, family, a tree falling down on a Confederate museum, that ain't no damn coincidence. That's just sweet ass justice. And they just tore the whole shit up. I mean, the tree destroyed it. Just a random fire happening at the Nottoway plantation and burning it all the way down. These are not coincidences. That's like the third or fourth time, like a lightning or something struck a slave plantation. Come on, we gotta give the ancestors their props, man. It's okay. It's okay to give them their props. I'm giving them their props. They're telling us something. They're letting us know we hear you, we see you. Huh? We're rocking with you. Down in Louisiana, they got those trees, they call them Spanish moss trees. Those trees, there's like I won't say leaves, there's like these little pods that come from the trees that look like hair. And when they get older, they look almost like afro hair. See, the term Spanish moss, that's a misnomer. That's the French called it that. Remember why is a tree in Louisiana called Spanish moss? No, that was an insult that the French gave the trees because they said that the trees look like the beard of Spaniards. And remember, the Spaniards, they mixed with that Moorish bloodline, so a lot of them had them nappy beards. So it was like an insult, almost like a racial insult to the Spanish. Like, oh, look at these trees. They look like your beards. It's all nappy and shit. We're going to call it Spanish moss. So, yeah, that was an insult. But those trees, they retain, you see them all through Louisiana. What my Louisiana people, them Spanish moss trees are everywhere. And you can feel the energy in them damn trees. And you go on them plantations, they would use that quote unquote moss. It's not really moss, it's something else, but it's not moss, but those quote unquote moss pods, they've used those to stuff pillows. They use them for so many different things on plantations. So we were connected with all of that stuff down there. But I say that to say, look, the ancestral energy is very real right now. And y'all remember Scott Adams, this suspected white supremacist cartoonist? He did, I think his cartoon was Dilbert or something like that. And remember a couple of years ago, he went on this rant, and this guy made big money. He was a big money guy. His stuff was syndicated all over the world. And one day he got online just going in on black people. He got online and was like, listen, the black problem can't be fixed. Oh, look, if you're white, it's okay to be white. Stay away from blacks. If you see blacks walking down the street, cross the street. I mean, he just went in on black people. And all of the syndication people dropped him in the whole shebang. And he got embraced by the Reddit 4chan crowd. But yeah, his career was pretty much a wrap. But he made his money. He made a lot of money off his cartoons. So he got online today. He just announced his ass has terminal cancer. Scott Adams got online. He was like, listen, guys, he was all sickly and frail. He's like, listen, I got prostate cancer. I got the same thing Biden has. You know, and speaking of Biden, that's another one with his benign neglect crime bill Biden. Biden, who put that crime bill on us, his ass got cancer. Come on, ancestors. Mm, ancestors taking them out slow. See, that's a agonizing death. You know, because Joe Biden already got dementia. It's crazy as cat shit now. That cancer is tearing him up, mind and body, just slow. Just like his crime bill destroyed us, slow. So Scott Adams got cancer. He said he probably ain't going to even make it through the summer. He might die by the summer. He said that this cancer is it's a wrap. He said he only got a couple of months to be here. Won't he do it? That is the ancestral energy. That's an ancestral awakening, ladies and gentlemen. With all of this stuff going on, this is not a coincidence. Listen, the cycle of justice is returning, ladies and gentlemen. The pendulum has swung too damn far. Listen, in spiritual systems and in nature, imbalances, eventually they're gonna demand correction. White supremacy, anti-black violence, that has gone, eh, it's gone on too damn long. Every action is going to plant a seed of a reaction. Those seeds, they've matured into harvest of karma right now. Yeah. The ancestral energy, they gave these white supremacists some space to get their minds right by themselves. They were like, listen, we're going to keep giving you warnings. Y'all going to have to get it together. They won't get it together. So now it's like, okay, we're going to get you together. You understand? The justice ain't is no it's not waiting for their bogus legal systems no more. It's manifesting through fire, illness, reversals, trees, resistance. So the spirit of justice is here. That Majara spirit has been fully activated and it's awakening the masses. There's like a divine essence that's being passed down through the descendants of the freedmen right now who survived this brutal system that these people will never repent for. They're trying to double down on their bullshit, and the ancestors are doubling down on their asses. Yeah. So the spirit realm now is asserting itself. See, anytime there's a major physical movement or a physical change, there's always a spiritual change. You understand? That's throughout history. There's always a spiritual change first. Remember the Reconquista? That was a religious thing at first. They were like, look, we got to get this thing. These black Muslims are over here squashing Christianity. Let's get our Christian thing going and let's get this white thing going. And now let's hit the streets and get physical with it. So it was a spiritual thing at first. Then it got into a physical thing. So they had to reconquer. That's why it was called the Reconquista. They had to reconquer their land and make it white again. Well, after the Moors saved them because they almost died, but that's another story. But The earth right now is purging the stains of racial violence. When you see plantations just bursting up in flames, that's the ancestors telling you something. That's an ancestral spiritual purge. When you have trees crushing Confederate museums, those are not just natural disasters, those are spiritual cleansings. See, in hoodoo, Majara, listen, that lets you know the land remembers. In spirits that's tied to that land, they're gonna revolt when they're denied justice. And the ancestors are being called because we are speaking on them, we're paying homage to them. We've been doing that lately, which I've been telling people. We got to pay homage to our ancestors here. We've made the mistake for a long time sitting up here giving props to African ancestors, many of them who sold our asses. Can we be real? We've been sitting up here giving praise and props to some of the wrong folks, if we're gonna be honest. I'm not trying to beat up on my African folks. I'm not trying to beat up on y'all, but we made a mistake. We done skipped over these phenomenal foundational Black American ancestors. We're giving our energy to the wrong folks. That's why they've been coming up. They come over here and they've been thriving off of our energy. We're sitting up here giving them the energy that we need to give ourselves and our ancestry here. And all we did was sit up here and empower the Myron Gaines of the world to come over here with their little janky undermining spirit to throw a wrench in our program. But now it's changed. Now we it's better late than never. For the first time, we in a long time, the masses of foundational Black Americans, we are publicly invoking the ancestors here, not just in a private little ritual on social media, in the music. Kendrick Lamar, come on, that's what Not Like Us. That's like a foundational Black American anthem. You understand? We got the number one movie in the world, which is paying homage to foundational Black American culture. All on social media, we're paying homage to foundational Black American culture and ancestry. See, this is what they didn't want. This is why the dominant white society, they've always tried to Africanize us. That's the reason why. They know about energy. They know about the power of ancestry and activating certain ancestors. They know that. That's why they always try to dismantle our history here and hide it. They don't have a problem Africanizing us. They have no problem with that because they know we ain't gonna get no real power from that. They're like, oh yeah, we'll give you a budget for African studies. We'll get Greg Carr to teach you Boule Bootlick. We'll get all the Boule Bootlicks to teach you about African history. Knock yourself out. They ain't got a problem with that. The minute we start saying, you know what, forget all that African stuff. This is my shit right here. Yeah, I'm very patriotic to this land because I'm a foundational Black American. Now it's like, uh-oh, they're waking up. Uh-oh, they're waking up. So that's why there's this desperate need for them to try to Africanize or even Caribbeanize us. See, a lot of the tethers do that, and a lot of the Pan-African scholars and the universities professors, they see there's like a psychological projection of their diasporic insecurity. See, a lot of these immigrants from Africa and the Caribbean, a lot, not all of them, but a lot, they feel secure about their cultural standing over here. So they got to project their need of validation onto successful foundational Black Americans. So what they do, you notice how they falsely attribute foundational Black American success to Caribbean or African roots. Everything we do, they got to find some tribe 1,000 years ago. Well, hey nigga, there was a tribe that was breakdancing in the 1200s. No, no, niggas were rapping in Ethiopia 5,000 years ago. No, no, not really. You see, they always got to Africanize us or Caribbeanize us. So that's a subconscious way of them trying to borrow the prestige, trying to latch on to the accomplishments of foundational Black Americans. And also, it's like erasure. That's an erasure power play, especially in academia. See, these Pan African scholars and these universities, they benefit professionally from promoting a borderless, homogenized Black identity. See, when they erase our distinctiveness as foundational Black Americans, tying us into a global Black narrative, they position themselves as the gatekeepers for Blackness. That allows them access to funding, academic clout, and leadership over Black institutions because this is what the white establishment pay them for, to make us one big Negro so that they can put in tethers like the Congressional Black Caucus to sit up here acting as our damn representatives while they go out of their way to undermine us and give all of our funding to immigrants. That's a con game they've been running on us. And a lot of people, they got a desire to claim our foundational Black American cultural capital without really sharing the struggle. See, our culture, foundational Black American culture, hip hop, soul food, fashion, vernacular, it's dominant and it's globally influenced. A lot of these non-FBA groups, they want to claim that cultural capital without having to experience the historic trauma that caused us to create that stuff. You understand? We had to come up with slang as a way to communicate with each other so we wouldn't be harmed. That's why we come up with slang terms so that white people couldn't understand what the hell we were talking about when we were around them so we wouldn't get harmed. You understand? We had to come up with food, soul food, because we had to make the best of the scraps they would give us. So we had to add this and add that and then put love in it and make sure that everybody around us was fed because we were denied resources. So we had to make these meals stretch. So we had to really, really put some thought and love into it in order to protect our families and our loved ones around us. See, y'all can't come claim this stuff without going through the struggle that it took to make this thing happen. Huh? Y'all want to copy the fashion and all of that out here. I see a lot of people try to do the West Coast thing. I see that a lot in other cities and other countries. People try to dress like the West Coast streets. Listen, you don't know what it took for cats to have to put their outfits together. I've been with my street partners out here in LA back in the day where they only had $30. They had to go get a $12 pair of khakis and a white shirt, and that's all they could wear, and some Kroger sacks. That's all they had, but they would spend that money and they would flip it and make it stylish because of the limited resources they had. Now that's a global trend. They learn how to take their meager means, their swap meet clothes, and then flip it and make it so stylish that everybody wanted to emulate it. If you ain't been around that, you ain't been up there to the swap meet with them cats, you gotta watch out for ops and enemies and rival gangsters, and you gotta make sure the color's right, because if you step out there with the wrong color, it might be a problem. Yeah, it's a fashion statement to you over there, but yeah, we have lived this thing and it was a danger to it because of the circumstances we were put in. You understand? So you just can't come co-op stuff like it's all sweet without knowing the history of it. Yeah, you're not gonna Caribbeanize and Africanize us. And look, a lot of this Pan-African stuff, a lot of that is a shield for anti-FBA sentiment. You know, a lot of these people, man, that Pan-Africanism, it's been weaponized to silence lineage-based claims, if we want to be real. But the thing is, going back to what I was saying earlier about the spiritual reckoning that's happening right now, we got to respect it. We got to respect what the ancestors are trying to do, respect what they're trying to say. See, the ancestors are not playing with these folks, and we shouldn't play with them. And the ancestors are showing that these people are not infallible. You know, they had that jailbreak down there in Louisiana. Speaking of Louisiana, they had that jailbreak down there. Now they didn't call some of the guys, some of these guys, and they broke out, and a lot of them they didn't really have nowhere to go. There's still 5 of them missing, but yeah, they've been catching them all around New Orleans. It's been taking them a couple of days, but this is still important because it's like a spiritual omen. The ancestors are still letting you know something. It's letting you know that their systems are not infallible. These people are not godlike. There are cracks in the armor. These people have weak spots. See, and them breaking out of jail like that, see, that helped break the illusion of infallibility. See, that's been broken. See, white supremacy survives not just through violence, but through a psychological illusion. The lie that they're all knowing and all controlling and undefeatable. See, that's the psyops they run on you. See, that prison break, that shatters that illusion. See, even the most fortified institutions are vulnerable. If a cage can be broken, so can a system. This shows how vulnerable their system is. Remember, going back, y'all know I love talking about the Black Seminoles. Down in St. Augustine, they had this saying, what was that fort? They had this fort that they said it was impenetrable. Fort Marco. I forgot what the name of it was, but they built this fort down there and they said, "Oh, you can't penetrate this fort." They captured some of the Seminole leaders and put them in that dungeon over there in that fort. They broke the hell up out of there. John Horse and Wildcat, they broke the hell on out and turned up and kept the war going. So that demoralized the white supremacists. They're like, we cannot hold these niggas down. These niggas are something different. You see? So when you have a prison break like this in a major city, what's the metaphysical message? These people are not gods. They bleed. They can break. So that shifts the collective consciousness from fear to strategy. See, the universe and the ancestors, they're reminding us no empire is invincible. Not even the ones built on your oppression. You see? And something like that, see, that sparks, even though some of them dudes have been caught, that still sparks strategic thinking and it sparks resourcefulness among the oppressed. Yeah? The ancestral energy, it don't want you to just feel free, it wants you to think free, it wants you to be free. And the universe, it rewards energetic courage and movement. Yeah? A bold act, even from so-called criminals, that can shift stagnant energy across the grid. See, these prisoners, they moved. See, they defied the impossible. See, that act alone, that stirs up the spirit realm. And it shows you stagnation, that's no longer acceptable. Notice we're moving different. There's a whole different movement. We're not letting the white supremacists run up on us and just attack us like Carmelo Anthony didn't. And he's walking around now on bail. See, usually when a black person defends themselves from a suspected white supremacist, they're rotting in jail. That didn't happen this time. Also, when a white supremacist harms somebody's child, they get to drink beers and pop their collars. But Brother Rodney Hinton up there in Ohio said, no, it's not going to be no popping collars or popping anything. He stopped that. That's that ancestral energy stirring everybody up right now. That universal energy, the ancestral energy is talking right now. It's reminding us that confinement is not natural. Being subjugated is not natural. Enslavement, incarceration, economic deprivation, containment, all of that's been rituals of white supremacy against us since their beginning here. But the spirit is letting you know that no, 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 there's a liberating energy that's happening right now. And we're resurrecting the ancestral codes, and justice is no longer waiting, it's acting through the least expected. See, we're in a season where justice is about breaking protocol. Yeah, you're not the whole thing of just waiting on these unjust courts and unjust laws. that's put together against us, that's just the ancestors are saying, no, that ain't it. The ancestors are saying, we're going to do this on our terms.